This is Max and Mia podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Max and Mia podcast.
And hey, if this is your first time with us, you found the right place. I'm Max.
And I'm Mia. Good to have you here with us today.
All right, before we get into today's content, how was your weekend, Mia? Anything worth mentioning?
Honestly, pretty quiet. I stayed home most of Saturday, watched a movie, made some pasta. Nothing special, but sometimes that's exactly what you need, you know?
Oh, totally. I actually went out on Saturday, met up with some friends for coffee, and then we ended up just walking around for a couple of hours. No plan, no destination. It was nice.
That sounds relaxing. Did you do anything on Sunday?
Sunday, I just cleaned my apartment. Not the most exciting thing, but it felt good after. And you? You said Saturday was quiet. What about Sunday?
I went to a small market near my place. They have fresh fruit, some local stuff. I bought way too many things as usual.
As always. Okay, so between your pasta Saturday and my walk, I think we had a pretty decent weekend.
Exactly. Just what we needed.
All right, let's talk about today's episode because we have some really good conversations lined up, and I think you're going to find them useful.
Yeah, we have a few conversations coming up that cover things that come up all the time in everyday English. And the first one, I think it's a great starting point.
So we're kicking off with qualifying adjectives. Words like beautiful, noisy, enormous, tiny, awful, brilliant. You get the idea. Words that describe things and people.
And the thing about adjectives is that you know them, right? You've probably studied them. But if you don't use them regularly, they just disappear. You stop reaching for them when you speak.
Exactly. So instead of just going through a list, we have a natural conversation where you can hear them in context, the way people actually use them.
The conversation is between Pete and Jane. Two characters, a very normal situation. You'll see how those adjectives come in without feeling forced.
Ready to listen? Let's go.
Hey, you made it. I was starting to think you got lost.
Sorry. The traffic was absolutely horrible. I swear every single light was red.
No worries. Come in. I just made coffee. You want some?
Oh, that would be lovely. Yes, please.
Here you go. Careful, it's still pretty hot.
Thanks. Oh, wow, your place looks different. Did you move things around?
Yeah, I got a new couch last week. The old one was so uncomfortable. I don't know how I survived that thing for 3 years.
I remember that couch. It was awful. This one looks really nice, though. Very cozy.
Right? I'm obsessed with it. I've been working from home this week, and I keep ending up on the couch instead of my desk.
That's dangerous. Once you sit on a comfortable couch with a laptop, it's over.
Completely over. Anyway, how are you? You look tired.
Is it that obvious? Yeah, it's been a rough week. Work has been pretty intense. Lots of deadlines, lots of meetings. I'm just glad it's Friday.
What's going on at work? Is it still that project you were telling me about last month?
Yeah, the same one. It's actually been interesting, I won't lie, but exhausting at the same time. We're working with a huge client and they're very, let's say, demanding.
Demanding as in difficult or demanding as in they want everything perfect?
Both, honestly. They're extremely specific about everything. Like, every tiny detail matters to them, which I get. It's a big deal for them, but it makes the whole process so slow.
That sounds stressful.
It is, but it's also kind of exciting. Like, when something finally gets approved, it feels really good. It's a strange mix.
I get that. You know, my job is the opposite right now. Things have been super slow, almost too quiet. I actually miss having a busy week.
Oh, don't say that. Be careful what you wish for.
I know. But seriously, I've had so much free time this week that I cleaned my entire apartment, reorganized my kitchen, and even started watching that documentary series you recommended ages ago.
No way! You finally started it? What do you think?
It's brilliant. I don't know why I waited so long. The first episode was a little slow, but by the second one, I was completely hooked.
I told you. The first episode is always a bit slow. It's just setting everything up. But once it gets going, it's so good.
Yeah, the guy they interview in episode 2 is fascinating. Like, the things he's been through are just unbelievable.
Right? And the way they filmed it is so beautiful. Some of those shots are stunning.
Agreed. Okay, so what are you doing this weekend? Are you finally going to rest, or do you have 100 plans?
I'm going to try to keep it simple. Maybe go for a walk if the weather's decent, visit my sister on Sunday. Nothing too crazy.
That sounds perfect, actually. Simple weekends are underrated.
Totally. What about you?
I'll probably finish the documentary, maybe cook something proper for once. I've been eating pretty terrible this week.
You and me both. Okay, more coffee?
Absolutely.
Okay, I love that conversation. It feels like something you'd actually hear, right? Nothing forced.
Exactly. And that's the point. Pete and Jane aren't trying to use adjectives, they're just talking. And the adjectives are everywhere.
Which is honestly the best way to learn them. All right, let's break some of this down.
So, the first thing I want to point out is how naturally the adjectives come in pairs or in contrast. Pete says the old couch was uncomfortable, and then Jane calls it awful. Two different adjectives, same idea, but they add color to the conversation instead of just repeating the same word.
And that's something worth practicing. In English, having options matters. If you only know one word for something, your speaking starts to sound a little flat. So instead of always saying bad, you have awful, terrible, rough, horrible. They all mean something similar, but they feel different depending on the situation.
Right. Jane says her week was rough, not bad, and that one word tells you a lot. It wasn't just bad, it was tiring, it was a lot to handle.
Another one I liked was when Jane described her client as demanding. And then Pete asked a really good follow-up question. Demanding as in difficult, or demanding as in they want everything perfect? That distinction matters.
It does. Because demanding can go both ways. And in real conversations, that kind of clarification happens all the time. It's worth noticing.
Then there's the expression, be careful what you wish for. Pete says he misses having a busy week, and Jane immediately hits him with that. It's a very natural way to warn someone without being too serious about it.
And Pete's response, I know, is also very typical. It's a way of saying, you're right, I hear you, without making a big deal out of it. Small things like that make your English sound a lot more natural.
One more thing I want to highlight. At the end, Pete says he's been eating pretty terrible this week. Technically, the correct form would be pretty terribly, because it's modifying a verb. But in spoken English, especially casual conversation, this kind of thing happens constantly. It doesn't sound wrong to a native speaker, it just sounds real.
And that's something we'll keep coming back to throughout the episode. There's a difference between textbook English and the English people actually speak. Both are useful, but you need to know both.
Exactly. All right, let's keep moving because we have another conversation coming up, and this one is really practical.
So, picture this. Something in your house breaks, or maybe you've been meaning to fix a few things for a while, and you finally call someone to come take a look. A plumber, a painter, someone to fix the ceiling, whatever it is.
That situation where you have to explain what's wrong, describe the condition of things, ask for a quote. It requires a very specific kind of vocabulary, and if you don't have it ready, it can get frustrating fast.
In this next conversation, we're going to hear exactly that. Someone calling a handyman, walking him through the apartment, describing what works, what doesn't, what needs replacing. Very real, very useful.
And again, lots of adjectives in there, but this time in a completely different context. Ready?
Let's go.
Good morning. I'm Tom from Reliable Fix. You called about some repairs?
Yes, hi Tom. Thanks for coming so quickly. I'm Roger. Come on in. Watch your step. The floor right at the entrance is a little slippery.
No problem. So what are we looking at today?
Quite a few things, honestly. I'll walk you through the place. Let's start in the kitchen.
Sure, lead the way.
Okay, so the main issue in here is the sink. The faucet has been leaking for about 2 weeks now. It's not a massive leak, but it's constant and it's driving me crazy.
I see it. Yeah, that washer looks completely worn out. That's a straightforward fix. Shouldn't take more than 30 minutes. I'd say around $40 to $50 for that one, including parts.
That's reasonable. And while you're here, the cabinet door on the left won't close properly. The hinge is loose.
Let me check. Yeah, the screws are stripped. I can replace the hinge. That's a minor job, maybe $15 on top.
Perfect. Okay, follow me to the bathroom. All right. So in here, 2 things. The shower head is pretty weak, the water pressure's very low, and the tiles on that wall, you see those 3 cracked ones? I want to get those replaced before it gets worse.
The shower head is probably a clogged filter. Easy fix. The tiles, though, those are a bit more involved. I need to remove the damaged ones carefully so the ones around them stay intact. Do you have spare tiles that match?
I actually do in the closet. They're from the original batch, so they should be a perfect match.
Oh, that's great. That makes things much simpler. For the tiles, I'd estimate around $80 to $90, labor included. The shower head cleaning, I'll throw that in with the kitchen faucet. No extra charge.
That's very kind of you. Okay, the last stop is the living room.
What's going on in here?
The ceiling. You see that yellowish stain up there? There was a leak from the apartment above me about a month ago. They fixed the leak, but the stain is still there and the paint around it is starting to bubble up a little.
Okay, I see what you mean. The bubbling paint needs to come off first. Then we treat the surface, let it dry completely, and repaint that section. It's not complicated, but it does need to be done right. Otherwise, the stain will just come back through.
That's exactly what I was worried about.
For that, I'd say somewhere between $120 and $140. It depends on how large the affected area turns out to be once I remove the loose paint.
Understood. So if I add everything up, we're looking at roughly $260 to $300 in total.
That sounds about right, give or take a few dollars depending on how things look once I get into it.
And how long would the whole thing take?
If we do it all in one visit, probably a full day, maybe 6 to 7 hours. I could come back on Thursday if that works for you.
Thursday is perfect. Let's do it.
Great. I'll send you a written quote by tomorrow so you have everything in black and white.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tom.
No problem at all. See you Thursday.
Okay. That one was packed. There was a lot going on in that conversation.
Yeah, Roger had a full list. And what I liked is that Tom was very clear the whole time. Every time he gave a price, he explained why. That's actually pretty realistic. A good handyman walks you through everything.
Exactly. And that structure, describing the problem, getting the estimate, confirming the visit, is something you'll run into a lot in real life. So let's break it down.
All right, first thing. The adjectives in this conversation are doing a different job compared to Pete and Jane. Their adjectives were about feelings and opinions. Here, they're describing conditions and states: worn out, loose, stripped, cracked, damaged, intact, very specific, very practical.
And that distinction matters. When you're describing a problem to someone, vague adjectives don't help. Saying the faucet is bad tells Tom nothing. Saying it's been leaking constantly for 2 weeks tells him everything. So the more precise your adjective, the clearer your communication.
Then there's straightforward. Tom uses it when he says the faucet is a straightforward fix. That's a really useful word. It means simple, no complications, no surprises. You'll hear it constantly in professional settings.
Another one worth noting is give or take. Tom says the total is around $300. Give or take a few. It's a very natural way to express that a number is approximate without making it sound uncertain or unprofessional. You can use it in almost any context.
And then at the very end, Tom says he'll send everything in black and white. That's an expression meaning in writing, officially documented. It's been around forever and it's still used all the time.
Now, let's talk about numbers for a second because that's something a lot of learners struggle with in real conversations.
Right. When Roger adds everything up at the end, he says, "We're looking at roughly $260 to $300. Notice the structure, roughly before the range, and between the two numbers. Not between 260 and 300. Not like around 300 maybe. Clear, natural, confident."
And that's a grammar point worth practicing. Saying numbers out loud in English takes repetition, especially when they get longer. 120, 140. It feels awkward at first, but it becomes automatic.
One quick tip. In American English, you'll often hear people drop the and. So, instead of 120, they'll say 120. Both are correct. It just depends on where you are and who you're talking to.
Good point. British English tends to keep the and. American English sometimes skips it. Worth knowing both.
All right, let's move on because we have one more conversation today, and this one hits close to home for pretty much everyone.
So we've talked about a relaxed catch-up between friends and a practical conversation about home repairs. Both involved numbers, adjectives, everyday vocabulary. Now we're going somewhere even more personal.
Money. Specifically, sitting down with someone and going through the monthly budget. What came in? What went out? What needs to change?
We've all been there. That moment at the end of the month where you look at your bank account and think, okay, where did it all go?
In this conversation, we're going to hear Amanda and Gary doing exactly that. Going through their expenses, rent, food, subscriptions, all of it, and trying to figure out where they can do better.
Lots of useful vocabulary here, and honestly, a very real dynamic between two people trying to stay on the same page about money. It's not always the most comfortable conversation, but it's a necessary one.
Ready? Here we go.
Okay, I finally sat down and went through everything. Do you have a minute?
Yeah, go ahead. Is it bad?
Not terrible, but not great either. We need to talk about a few things.
All right, hit me.
So, rent is the same, $1,400. That's fixed. Nothing we can do there. Utilities this month were around $90, which is actually lower than usual. I think turning off the AC at night is making a difference.
See, I told you. Small things add up.
You were right. I'll admit that. Okay, groceries. This is where things get a little uncomfortable. We spent $340 last month.
That seems high. What happened?
I went back through the receipts, and honestly, a big chunk of it was stuff we didn't really need. Snacks, drinks, things that just ended up in the cupboard. I think if we actually plan the meals before we shop, we could bring that down to around $250 easily.
That's fair. I'm guilty of throwing things in the cart without thinking.
We both are. Okay, subscriptions. This one surprised me. Between streaming, the gym, that news app you never open, we're at $85 a month.
$85? That feels like a lot for things we barely use.
The gym alone is $40. When was the last time you went?
Okay, that's a fair point. Maybe we cancel that for now and just go running. It's free.
Exactly. And that news app is $8 a month. I looked it up and you've opened it twice since January.
Yeah, that one's gone. No argument there.
So if we cut those two, that's $48 back. Not huge, but it's something.
Every little bit helps. What else?
Eating out. We spent around $160 last month on restaurants and takeout.
That actually doesn't sound that bad to me.
It's not the worst, but if we're trying to save, that's probably the easiest place to cut back. Even just cooking at home 2 or 3 more times a week would make a difference.
Agreed. I can cook on Thursdays and you take Sundays?
Deal. Okay, so if we're realistic about it, we can probably save somewhere between $150 and $200 this month compared to last month.
That's actually really good. What are we putting that toward?
The trip. I want us to have at least $1,000 saved by June.
June is tight, but doable. Let's stick to the plan.
Let's. And Gary, please stop buying fancy coffee every morning. That's another $30 a month we didn't even talk about.
I knew that was coming.
It always comes.
Okay, I felt that conversation. The gym membership one especially.
Yeah, I think everyone has that one subscription they keep forgetting about. But honestly, what I liked about Amanda and Gary is that they were very calm about it. Money conversations between couples can go sideways fast, and these two kept it together.
They did. And there was a lot packed in there beyond just the numbers. Let's get into it.
So, the numbers first, quickly. Amanda handles them really well. She doesn't say around $160, more or less, give or take. She just says it once, clearly. 160. And when she gives a range for the savings, she says somewhere between $150 and $200. That somewhere between is a very natural way to frame an estimate.
And notice she says 150 instead of 150. That's something native speakers do constantly with round numbers. 150, 250, 300. Once you're comfortable with it, your English starts to sound a lot more fluid.
Now, beyond numbers, 2 things I want to highlight. First, hit me. Gary says it right at the beginning when Amanda says she needs to talk. It means, go ahead. Tell me. I'm ready. It's informal, but very common. You'll hear it in the office, between friends, all over the place.
It's one of those short phrases that sounds very natural, but can feel strange to use if you've never practiced it. Same with, that's fair. Gary uses it twice. It's a simple, clean way to agree with a point without overdoing it. Not, yes, you are completely right, and I totally agree, just, that's fair, done.
And then there's, every little bit helps. Max actually said something similar earlier in the episode, and it's worth pointing out because it's one of those phrases that shows up everywhere. It's a great way to stay positive when the progress is small but real.
All right, I think that wraps up the conversations for today. 3 very different situations, a lot of vocabulary, a lot of real English. I hope it was useful.
It really was a good one.
Okay, before we go, thank you. Genuinely. If you made it this far, that means something, and we appreciate it more than you know.
This kind of content takes time to put together, and knowing that people are actually listening and learning from it makes it worth it.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe. It's the simplest way to support what we do, and it makes sure you don't miss what's coming next.
And if you have a topic you'd like us to cover, a situation, a type of conversation, anything. Let us know. We read everything.
All right, that's it for today. Take care of yourselves.
And we'll see you in the next one.
To keep taking your English to the next level, click on the next video or explore the others we've made for you.